Hey, what is going on, freedom fighters? Welcome back. It is Tyranny Response Tuesday here on Break the Chains Media. Hopefully the audio is good. Hopefully the sound is good. Everything's looking good. We're looking good. We're feeling good. It's nice blue, rocking in the actually first feels like spring day here in Colorado, where it was a little sunny, a little overcasty, not too hot, not too cold. We're having a good time here in the Mile High City. Thank you all for being here. We're going to be crushing it. We're going to be doing a little bit more of like a part two, maybe like an addendum. Not quite a part two, but it's going to be an addition to the long-winded discussion that I had about the state assembly over this past weekend from yesterday. This one is going to go a little bit more specific into my thoughts on this, I guess, the conversation regarding the resolutions that the Colorado GOP voted on as the state assembly body, as well as the propositions, the call to questions that were brought up regarding the censuring of the Central Committee people who decided to vote against the closed primary proposition, as well as just a general conversation about open primaries or closed primaries. What is more beneficial? What is more helpful? What is going to facilitate the preservation of liberties, rights, freedoms, and defend against the communist control here that's happening in Colorado? What do you think? You let me know in the chat. What do you think is the best method forward for us? Should we be doing an open primary system like we have it right now, where individuals from any affiliated party can participate in the primary process? And for a long time, people have used this, not just in Colorado, but for many decades across many different states that do have a caucus process, open primary process. People will vote on the opposing party's primary ballot to skew the vote, to flip the number and vote for just for example, if you don't want the Democrat, if there's several different Democrats running for office and you don't want their front runner, you want to throw that vote out, you want to throw that vote off, you as an unaffiliated voter could vote with their primary ballot and vote for the third or fourth or the backup quarterback, so to speak, the backup candidate, and vote for them and skew those primary numbers so that their front runner doesn't end up winning. So you could screw up the ballot that way, and that is how a lot of people have done it in years past. And just this past weekend, the Colorado State Assembly. Sorry, that just popped up. The Colorado State Assembly decided to vote in support of having a closed primary process and ensuring that Secretary of State Jenna Griswold does not issue Republican ballots to unaffiliated voters. And I'm sure there's a lot to be said. There's a lot of conversation to be had. So you let me know what you guys think in the chat. We're going to get into all of that here on Break the Chains Media. If this is the first time joining Break the Chains Media, smash that thumbs up button. Smash that like button. Be a part of the Chain Breakers here on Break the Chains Media. We do live streams as many times as we can, as often as we can. When the news is pressing, when the news is breaking, we want to make sure you guys get the right information. We want to make sure that the information gets out there regarding Colorado politics, social, political, cultural things happening in the state as well as the nation. Break the Chains Media is the channel for you. I know I'm not the conventional talking heads guy. I'm not the big name podcasters or YouTubers out there, but I do what I can and I'm passionate about it. And I think and I appreciate everyone being here. I love my Rumblers, love my YouTubers. Not so much. They're still there. Do appreciate you. I know I got my regulars on YouTube, so thank you for that. And then anyone on X, rock and roll. Follow me on all the social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You look for Break the Chains Media on your favorite platform. Chances are I'm there. Now, I am not on LinkedIn or Fiverr. I assure you that. I promise. Promise I am not on some of those little gimmicky websites. But if you do want to support me a little bit further, head over to breakthechains.media. That is the website. That is the landing page. Realm Walker Hot Sauce. You want to support the channel in a real direct way, you pick up a bottle of Realm Walker Hot Sauce. So let's get it. Let's make it happen. Travel to 9 realms of Norse mythology through hot sauce. From mild to extreme heat, all the peppers are hand-grown, homemade hot sauce here in the Mile High City, grown by yours truly, because a long time ago, many years ago, I had a passion for good, full-flavored hot sauce that wasn't overburdened by vinegar, a very vinegar-forward, a very diluted flavor. I want full flavor. I want it to enjoy the taste of those peppers. So I grew the peppers myself, and I made the hot sauce flavors for you to enjoy as well. Realm Walker Hot Sauce, named after the different realms of Norse mythology. Pick up your flavors here. We got Niflheim, which is the realm of ice, so it's a more mild flavor. Then you got Midgard, you got Vanaheim, you got Helheim, Muspelheim, all the different flavors. Asgard and Ragnarok are going to be the hottest ones. So if you want extreme heat, you got to pick up Ragnarok. That is the Nordic apocalypse, the Viking apocalypse. And we use smoked chocolate super hot peppers, apocalypse peppers, and green chilies, one of my favorite flavors. Support the channel by picking up a bottle of Realm Walker Hot Sauce. Reach out to Realm Walker Hot Sauce on Instagram. Shoot a DM out there, or hit me up, Break the Chains Media. You can find me on all the socials, and you can grab your bottle through any of those sources. But without further ado, folks, we are jumping into it. We are getting into it because that is what we do here. And if I actually did it right, if I actually made it right, there we go. Oh my gosh. I've got the pages pulled up here. That was yesterday. This is today. We're doing the scroll real quick. We're making it happen in real time. Hello. What is going on? We got to say hello to the chat. Stank Fail. What is going on? Free State, Colorado. You get a treasure chest too. Rock and roll, because all the people following us here support the channel, make it happen, and everyone that follows and everyone that watches these streams is a treasure to me, and that's why we drop the treasure chest, right? We drop the treasure chest because you are a treasure. But we're doing the scroll here really quick. Let me take a quick sip of the gotta hydrate. You always gotta hydrate. That is important, right? But thank you all for being here. Appreciate you. John Hickenlooper and Jason Crow, two terrible people in Colorado, national politics. These people, they have slowly destroyed our state, one legislative bill at a time in the U.S. Congress. And John Hickenlooper and Jason Crow, hopefully, in a perfect world, hopefully we might be able to make a mockery of this little pathetic looking, very strange and awkward high five handshake. You see how his hands kind of squiggle together, it's like they tried to give it a good attempt, but it's an abysmal failure. Let's hope to see we can get Mark Baisley into the U.S. Senate. Switch this out with Hickenlooper. Get Hickenlooper out, get Mark Baisley in, and get Jason Crow out, and we'll throw Lauren Boebert in there, right? We'll get Boebert and Baisley to give a nice handshake and actually do a solid job doing it, because we know that they're going to represent Colorado. We know that they're going to do it right. But Hickenlooper's coming out here. He's a brave fighter against Trump's lawlessness and doesn't back down. Well, this is the Democrat talking point. At some point, they're going to have to stop talking about Trump. What policies do Democrats really have if it's not attacking Trump, if it's not attacking the MAGA agenda? That is why it is important to us to stay dedicated to our cause, dedicated to our fight, and understanding it's not about Trump, it's not about MAGA. Granted, I'll be the first to say I voted for Trump 3 different times, but the weather in Colorado does not dictate a Trump a Trump name drop to make it successful. We got to focus on policies like energy, like affordability, like housing, like parental rights, like Second Amendment rights, like First Amendment rights. These are things that are timeless. These are things that are evergreen in the state of Colorado. And I'm not talking about my friends and family up in Evergreen, Colorado. I'm talking about evergreen issues that matter to Colorado residents. So that's what we have to focus on, not necessarily branding with celebrity worship or cult behavior like MAGA does, right? We got to focus on the real issues that matter most here in Colorado. And Trump and Hickenlooper and Crow always got to attack Trump. It pisses me off. And then we got a shout out from Nick Rogers from the Big Timber Lodge, bringing it to you, and the Wolverines, all my boys and girls in the Wolverines Club having a good time. But Nick Rogers from the Big Timber Lodge making a really good point here, and he's talking about your personal employer-sponsored health insurance premiums. The group plans through your private companies can be indirectly raised by Colorado programs for undocumented immigrants. And here's how it works in practice. Health Insurance Affordability Enterprises, the main direct mechanism Colorado assesses a fee. Currently on a 2% for-profit insurance premiums, slightly less for nonprofits, are virtually on all health insurance policies sold in the state. This includes market plans, small group and large group employer-sponsored plans. The collected money goes into the HIAE fund, which helps pay for reinsurance, subsidies for the individual market, and Omni Salute. I've been talking about Omni Salute for a long time, folks. When we get into the nitty-gritty of how Colorado insurance plans fund and operate for illegal immigrants and people who don't necessarily qualify for Medicaid, Omni Salute is that third rail, is that third party that brings in the money from Colorado constituents, and it funds illegal immigrant healthcare programs. $0, zero funding. Nothing gets paid out of pocket for these illegal immigrants here in Colorado, so long as they're using Omni Salute. So it continues here. Insurers treat this fee that they are going to talk about raising around, this fee as a cost of doing business in Colorado. They typically pass it along by building it into the premiums they charge employers and individuals. Insurers and industry groups have publicly stated that proposed fee increases of 0.75% to 1% hikes discussed in 2025 would raise costs for employer-sponsored coverage across the board. Folks, we have to be wary of this. We have to understand the minutia, the nitty-gritty, the back-end bureaucracy that goes into all of these legislative policies. We're talking about insurance premiums and rates. And if this doesn't make you upset, if this doesn't make you mad, just talking about basic brass tacks, quite literally, and the pun is intended, the brass tacks of raising rates on insurance premiums to pay for illegal immigrants here and to subsidize their health care is unacceptable, and we have to speak out about this. We have to speak out against this, because this isn't right. This goes right into the dangerous policies and the cost of living that continuously rises here in Colorado, and we are sick and tired of it. We got to stand up. We got to say something about this. So shout out to Nick Rogers from the Big Timber Lodge. I'm sure you guys appreciate him as well as myself and many others do. But this is just another issue on the larger issue that is Colorado. But we are going to be jumping into my 2 cents here and what this, bringing it back home to the conversation at hand, talking about open or closed primaries, folks. And this is something that, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the chat, in the conversation, because I think this is a big issue going into the future of politics here in Colorado and what it really means, how we really stand up for various different things in Colorado, right? So, excuse me while I have to fix my hair. I hope I look okay. What is going on with my hair, folks? Hold on. Oh, you know what? I forgot. I was because I am growing my hair out and it's a little bit disheveled right now. It was in a I don't like using the term the man bun. I was using a man bun. Excuse me. I slap myself on the wrist for wearing a man bun. But as my hair grows out, because I do want to put it in like a long like Viking style braid, I gotta this is the weird in between length. So forgive me, but you gotta look good on stream. You know what I mean? Anyways. Bringing it back home. This is Break the Chains Media, folks. If you like this kind of stuff, smash that thumbs up button. Be a part of the Chain Breakers, because I don't have any filters, and I say it like it is. Anyways, so Colorado politics. What is the future of our state here in the Centennial State? How do we fend forward with a party that explicitly showed its dysfunction and lack of coordination in the state GOP assembly this past weekend, okay? And a lot of conversation is talking about open or closed primaries. And the open or closed primary conversation is a very contentious issue, and I hear both sides. And I understand both sides. It makes sense that you don't want people who are not dedicated to a party to participate in the election process of your candidates. Okay? Sorry, I have to open that up, but we'll keep going here. But Stankfail in the chat says, "Make man buns cool again, folks." I don't like calling them man buns. I usually call them the trash bag, because it looks like a tied up trash bag on the back of your head. Just grab them and throw them in the trash. But that's when I had dreadlocks back in the day. But now I just kind of, I guess I'll wear it for the meanwhile. Anyways. But folks, I do understand why open primaries are important, because you want to include the most amount of people who might be interested in participating in that various political parties' election process, right? If you are a right-leaning independent or a left-leaning independent, but you don't want to affiliate with the party officially, you want to be able to get both ballots. And for many years, I was one of those people who got both ballots. And I was able to think and discern between the candidates and make a decision because I felt like that was my civic duty, to do the research and to educate myself and make the best decision for the state, right? That is a valid conversation to be had. However, in recent years, it has become more and more prevalent that people will use the open primary process as a weapon, as a tool, as a mechanism to throw off the opponent party's candidates. So you'll have a right-leaning unaffiliate or a right-leaning or a left-leaning unaffiliated person vote on their opponent's ballot for a candidate who has no chance of winning the slot, to throw the numbers out of whack, right? So, and this is one of the reasons why the argument for closed primaries is where I stand. I say, yeah, if you don't want these weaponized individuals, using their leftist logic to throw the GOP's primary out of whack, you don't want open primaries. You prefer to have closed primaries with registered Republicans to vote on the primary ballots. Okay? I understand that. And you can say the same argument, flip the script for the Democrats. You want to make sure the Democrats are going to be the sole people voting for the Democrat primary candidates. That makes sense to me. But Colorado, a majority of our voters are unaffiliated. A majority of our residents here, 2.2 million residents in Colorado, do not have a party affiliation. And that's why the Libertarian Party is so prevalent here. That's why so many contested issues come up, whether it's on party lines or not. But this is why our state, many people call it a purple state. In past years, maybe not so much as recently, because we are being taken over by a cultural Marxist leftists, and our party has been taken over by Democrats of the like up and down the Front Range. But yes, 719 719 Turbo Media, I do see you there, but there were Democrats at the assembly, and that's a conversation to be had, because there was, and you could say the same thing about the Democrat assembly, because people can change party affiliations year to year, and then they can participate. Like if I wanted to, in 2 years' time, I could switch my party affiliation and be a considered Democrat and vote in the general, or vote in their primary up until leading the general, if I wanted to skew the presidential nominee in the state of Colorado. This is why so many people would prefer a closed primary. So, Free State Colorado says it right here. closing the GOP primary helps the Democrat candidates, in my opinion. And that is the real takeaway from this conversation, because I agree that closing primaries only ensures Democrat victories. That is, I think, the larger thing, and we are gonna read into that in an article I do have pulled up here in just a minute. But I wanted to show you the process in which was actually selected. This happened in the state assembly. So, per Colorado revised statute, when the state assembly convenes, it has the ability to override the central committee's decision. And all of this was brought up because Thursday night before the state assembly. So what was that? That was Thursday, the 9th of April. The Colorado Executive Committee voted to shut down the closed primary process. 15 of these committee members voted against a closed primary, and the way it was delivered at the state assembly, so many people there wanted to have a closed primary. So many people there believe that the Republicans should be the only ones participating in the primary process. And now here's where my take comes in. And I asked several people in the assembly this exact question. I go, and this was, mind you, this was after we just found out the dysfunction of the credentialing committee and the 80 plus extra votes that were unaccounted for in the state assembly process. This was after the fact that it took them almost 5 hours to get people through the doors and credentialed. This is all coming into showing the apparent dysfunction of the state GOP. Okay? So I asked this question. I said, why should we be for closed primaries if that process of closing the primaries is going to protect this level of dysfunction in the state GOP? Why are we protecting a GOP that doesn't even know how to operate itself? Why should we be closing a primary to protect this pathetic and dysfunctional state of GOP? Excuse me. Let's take a look in the chat here. Free State Colorado dropping a few here. Unaffiliated voters would only get a Dem ballot in the mail if the GOP opts out. And that is exactly what happened. So in the state assembly, they approved they voted in favor of closing the primary to only registered Republicans. And this is going to be the death nail. This is going to be the death blow to the state GOP party here in Colorado. I do believe that. I do agree with you, Free State. If you tell unaffiliated voters you don't want them to vote in your candidates in June, don't be surprised when they don't vote for your candidate in November. Absolutely correct. You get a treasure chest for that. The pool of a party-affiliated voters is shrinking. Fewer and fewer people are registering with either party. The GOP can't afford to exclude them. Yes, that is where we're at right now. And honestly, I voted to close the primary. You know why I voted to close the primary? Because I believe the GOP is dead. Let it die. Let it die. And you heard it here. You heard it here first. I am a registered Republican. I am a delegate in the state GOP. And I want to see this party completely buried. Because they are feckless, they are weak, they are useless, they have no leadership. We're $300,000 in debt. So if they want to close the primary, if they want to opt out of open primaries, let them. Let it fall to the wayside. Let it fall to the eras of history. Let it go into the past. Destroy it. Abolish it. Get rid of it. Start something new. We have to use this energy and say, you know what? If this is what you want, this is what you get. And then we get people rallied together around a constitutional party or a a freedom party or whatever verbiage you want to use, but bring in a new party, re-incentivize voters to build on another party system that can resonate better with Colorado Republicans and Colorado right-leaning individuals who are sick and tired of the pathetic attacks and the pathetic infighting that this GOP has been doing for the better part of a decade. That's my thought. That's why I said, you know what? Close the primary, send him to bed, give him the nail in the coffin, and let it be at rest. That's where I'm coming from, folks. So let's take a listen here. Before we do that, let's read a couple more here. Forest Mommy, smash that like button. Absolutely right. Appreciate you being here. It's like the party's one job. Exactly. According to the GOP rules, Dems were not allowed to participate in the assembly. They allowed it on the floor. Forest Mommy says, I don't know how I feel on it. The unaffiliates that do vote for any of the GOP vote for the moderate dummies and keep the same BS going. Yeah. The MAGA party, 719 Turbo Media. I do hear where you're coming from, but unfortunately, the phrase MAGA does not resonate with Coloradans at all. MAGA is not a favored term here in Colorado. That's why we need to run with like a constitutional party or a liberty party. Maybe not libertarian because the leftists have taken over the libertarian party here in Colorado. But Forest Mommy keeps it going, saying something that people don't want to control and turn it into psychopaths trying to control it. And that's exactly what we're dealing with. And that's exactly why I used my delegate vote to say, you know what? Send it. Close it. And let's be honest, folks. When we're going to watch this video here, my vote wouldn't even really made a difference because the majority of the assembly voted in favor of closing the primary. So it's only a few minutes long, but take a listen here. This is the question. The question was raised in assembly after the dysfunction that we received with the credentialing committee and the entrance of the delegates. So all of this comes back down to letting this dysfunctional and broken GOP in the state of Colorado, let it lie. Let the old dog lie. Send it out to pasture. See you later, bye. Because why are we defending a party who is so useless and pathetic? So let's take a listen here.
On the appeal, please rise.
Excuse the camera. It's not this vote, it's the upcoming vote, but this is kind of listen very carefully.
Very easy to get backwards. The chair's decision was that this motion was out of order because the body does not have the authority to bind the chair or the say something. So when you vote, a yes vote will mean that you agree or uphold or sustain the decision of the chair. Please,
So really quick, I just want to preface this. So the chair initially said that this call to question was out of order, and now they're voting on the process to overturn the chair's decision of bringing the party to a closed primary process and requiring the Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold, to remove Republican ballots from unaffiliated voters in the primary process. So let's take a listen. Let's keep going.
it's not basic English here. This is complicated.
This is complicated.
A no vote reverses the decision of the chair and would make the motion in order. Is everybody clear? Okay. All those in favor of sustaining the decision of the chair, say aye. All those opposed, say no.
No.
Those clearly no.
So that's the first one. Now we're going to move into the second one. Hello, everyone in the chat. Appreciate you being here. This is the big one. Listen up.
My opinion hasn't changed, but I'm bowing to the will of the body. So, now
Take a listen.
we're back motion which has common left.
I know it's kind of tough to hear. It's a huge assembly, but take a listen. This is the big one.
The motion is to censure the 15 state executive committee members who voted no on the major item of business on Thursday evening, April 9, 2026, and request this body to vote now to allow John Eastman and Randy Corcoran to immediately file. Please, at the microphone, please, I'll stop.
It's all so cringe. But listen, just infighting is real, folks. Infighting is real.
Thank you. I'll start again. Motion to censure the 15 state executive committee members who voted no on the major items of business on Thursday evening, April 9, 2026, and request this body to vote now to allow John Eastman and Randy Coleman to immediately file a preliminary injunction for the Secretary of State General Gina Griswold to not provide Republican ballots to unaffiliated voters in the June 2026 Republican primary. Chair, single line, is going to extend debate for 10 minutes on this, or until somebody successfully calls the question.
So they're going to call the question, and then they're going to go straight to the vote. Take a listen.
Microphone, please.
In the interest of time, let's call the question.
Okay, so that was the build up to it. Now I'm going to get to the actual video itself. Where is it here? Because it was it this one? Was it that one? Yeah, no, maybe it was this one. No, we'll keep going.
Is there a second? All those in favor of closing debate and voting, by the way, we both not everyone, the name of the motion is closing debate and vote immediately because it explains what it actually is instead of calling the question. But all those in favor of closing debate and voting immediately on the motion I just read,
They're trying to vote for the motion.
please rise.
And very quickly, the motion was to censure the 15 individuals who decided to not close the primary ballots to closing the ballots only to Republicans that are registered, and omitting unaffiliated voters, and making sure that Jenna Griswold does not give Republican ballots to unaffiliated voters. That is the motion on the floor right now. So let's keep going.
Those opposed, please rise. Please see. There are more than 2/3 in the affirmative and we will vote immediately. All those in favor of the motion to censure the 15 state executive committee members who voted no on major item of business on Thursday evening, April 9, 2026, and request this body to vote now to allow John Eastman and Randy Corcoran to immediately file preliminary injunction or the Secretary of State Gina Griswold to not provide Republican ballots to unaffiliated voters in the June 2026 Republican primary, say aye. All those opposed say no. Ayes clearly have it.
So, as you can hear, that in itself was the vote to censure and to close the primaries. And you can hear me in there. I voted in favor of closing it because I want this party to die. Okay? Sad thing is that is what the Democrats want. That is what the establishment wants. Forrest Mommy, I see you in there. Kirkmeyer wanted to end caucus. I'm sure she's behind making everything seem more worse to make people hate it. Yes, and this is the thing, right? This shows how dysfunctional it all is. This shows how broken the old process is. People don't get the right information. People don't understand how it actually takes place. And not only that, you get corrupt people in the upper echelons and the talking points and the chairs and these committees and these people that pass bylaws that consolidate power, that close down debate, that close down all this stuff. So many people that have wrote the bylaws, that have stood on these boards, want to end caucus. They want to make it. They want to destroy caucus, and they want to completely just go the way that every other state does it, right? And there is an argument to be had, folks, about just allowing people to petition on and letting the best candidate win. And I think that closing primaries fast tracks that into building a new system of politics here, a new system of party affiliation here that could really be a more populist centric movement. Now, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm misled, but from what I saw working here, from what I saw in the state GOP assembly, it was an absolute joke. And I was pissed off and I was sick of it. So, with that being said, I do want to read this from the Denver Post. This was just a 2 weeks ago article from the Denver Post. In a win for Colorado GOP, judge rules that states make it too hard to close primaries to unaffiliated voters. And this is why they brought the call to question on the floor at Assembly, because as per state rules, you were allowed to do that because the state Assembly is the largest governing body of the GOP state party. So, with that being said, let's keep reading. A federal judge has struck down a key part of a 2016 ballot initiative that sets high threshold for Colorado political parties to close their primary elections to unaffiliated voters, delivering a significant win to conservatives within the state Republican Party. The ruling, a case filed by the Colorado GOP, did not fully strike down Proposition 108, which opened up primaries to participation by party faithful and unaffiliated voters alike. But in the decision issued on Tuesday, the U.S. District Court Judge Philip A. Brimmer wrote that the law puts a severe burden on parties that want to opt out of the open primaries. He ruled that the part of the law violates the First Amendment protections of the freedom of association. The law says that a political party wants to close a primary so that only registered voters can participate. 75% of that party's central committee must vote in support of that change. And that in itself was what the Central Committee was voted on. The 15 members that voted against it, that is what this judge is talking about specifically. The background and origins of 3/4 opt-out provision is unclear, Brimmer, who said is based in Denver, wrote. What is clear is that the constituents of an unusual and difficult barrier for Central Committee to overcome, more akin to a hurdle to amend a foundational governing document such as the United States Constitution than a traditional means of regulating political parties. He noted that unaffiliated voters share Colorado's electorate has grown and they make up a majority of the registered voters. Like myself, I am aware, many politicos are aware that a majority of Colorado voters are unaffiliated. We are sick of both parties. So my premise and the reason why I voted to close the primary was why are we allowing this party to continue to control the platform and the ideology of a quote-unquote conservative mindset? Why do we have to adhere to the GOP rules and regulations if we just don't want to have transing of kids? If we don't want to have gun control? Why do we have to adhere to the Republican base? Why do we have to pander to the NGOs and the nonprofits and the big money that funds into some of these rhinos, that funds into some of these Democrat this is how the party machines operate. They get funding through the parties, through their constituents, through the system, through the nonprofits, the big corporations, the big donors run the parties. They run the parties. Kill the parties. In my opinion, I don't know. Slick Chick, what do you say over here? How are we even going to win anything when we're still using Dominion voting systems? I don't trust the process at all. And you got a good point there too. We're fighting a multi-front assault. We are fighting a battle on many fronts. So I'm of the opinion that we should just help the GOP in their demise, let them die off, kill the process, kill the party, close the primaries, allow it to just wither away and die, because I'm sick of defending the GOP that can't even run an assembly appropriately, right? Why are we defending these people? Let's keep going. The decision also doesn't appear to impact upcoming summer primaries. The state GOP meets April 11th. Like I said, this was written before the assembly, and then the assembly did this. So this is all intimately still tied together. Okay, the state GOP filed the lawsuit against Colorado Secretary of State's office in 2023 under the leadership of conservative hardliner Dave Williams. He had blasted Proposition 108 as a radical left-wing effort and argued that closing the primaries was pivotal to protecting the true Republican candidates. Now, I never thought I'd be siding with Dave Williams, but I think I don't know. Dave Williams, I think, is a plant, and he wants to see the Republican Party die. But maybe we want to see it die for different reasons. I don't know, folks. I guess I'm of the mind that why are we defending something that is so fundamentally broken? Why are we allowing why are we protecting the GOP when it should just let it do its thing? If it wants to do that, let it do its thing and let it just wither away and die, right? Forrest Mommy says LPR and lifelong politicians run it, and they love that the Dems are in charge. 719 Turbo Media says, I said it years ago, until we get rid of the two-party system, nothing will ever change. Yeah, I mean, that is where it comes down to. Because this two-party system plays together, right? Close off the primaries and let the constituents decide. We do need to rock bottom things. That's where I'm at. After seeing the way that the state GOP was ran this past weekend, after seeing how they played it all out, I am sick and tired of all of it. I don't want to see any more of it. You know? I just hope Jarvis was mad that he was censured. Yeah. I was actually surprised that he was one doing this. I heard inklings that he voted against closing primaries because he wanted to push it through legislation, whatever that means, because you know as well as I do, anything a Republican introduces in our state legislature gets shot down anyways. So I don't know why that would even be a feasible, logical thought. But yeah, let's keep going here, because I want to see the parties die for different reasons than Dave Williams. I want to see the closed primaries. I want to see the closed primaries because I want to see the party die. And Dave Williams maybe wants to see the party die, or maybe wants to see it, preserved and protected so that only Republicans can win it. Well, guess what I saw, folks? What I saw in there, no offense to the old folks, but there was a lot of old people there. There was a lot of old people. So whether they close the primaries and just let them vote into obscurance of histories, let them just vote their way into the obscurity of history, right? Let them go away, because no real young people are making up the Republican Party anymore. And I'm only petitioning in the Republican Party because I do not believe in abortion, I do not believe in gun control, and I do not believe in immigration, and I do not believe in transing of children. Like, those are the four pillars that I have no way, no how, could never participate in a Democrat process, because the Democrats live on this stuff. The Democrats rally around these things. And I am an advocate against all of the things I just listed. So I cannot subscribe to the Democrat Party. So I arguably am politically homeless myself. I only adhered to the GOP because that was the only one that was actually, sensible and reasonable. But at the same time, they got their crazy end too. They got their crazy stuff too. No, I understand. I'm not saying that old people are bad, 7-1 Turbo. I appreciate everyone that's there. But how are we going to re-enfranchise? How are we going to reinvigorate young people into the party if we can't get our ish together? If we can't get our ish together, how are we going to get young people energized about a GOP? We don't even have a GOP we speak of here in Colorado. It's a damn shame. And it really sucks that we're sitting here debating about whether we open or close primaries. But this is the state of affairs here in Colorado, and I do think that the unaffiliated voter is the determining factor on majority of Colorado elections. And if we close primaries off, We end up losing the voice of the majority of the people in Colorado. We disenfranchise a lot of individual voters who might be right-leaning, who might not be subscribed to the full board Democrat cultural Marxist agenda. You might have some right-leaning independents that are like, you know, I'm for fiscal responsibility. I really can't get behind gun control. We probably should leave the kids alone. But I just can't fully subscribe to the GOP and their full-on Republican platform. I can't push myself to fully register as a Republican. It's just not me, right? That's where this decision to close the primaries falls short. And I feel like Free State Colorado gets it. I feel like Forrest Mommy gets it. I feel like a lot of folks in this chat get it. I think we all understand that. And if we close primaries, we lose a lot of people that get us over the threshold, right? If we, you know, this one time I'll bring Trump up into a larger scale, and we can lens that into Colorado politics. If Trump didn't open up his tent to RFK Jr., if Trump didn't bring in Tulsi Gabbard, if Trump didn't speak to the Libertarian Party and get that 2% vote, we could be sitting under a Kamala presidency right now. So for the Republican Party to close the primaries, it disenfranchises a lot of voters, but I think that is actually going to speed up the process of politically remedying the state and allowing this state to really hit the worst of the worst before we rise up like a phoenix from the ashes and make something new and reunite something better. We need to pull Republicans out of the GOP and say, why are you continuing to participate in this corrupted and broken and fractured process? We shouldn't be playing their games anymore. We should be running our own ship. The Freedom Party, the Constitutional Party, the America First Party, whatever you want to call it. Let's get out from under the GOP corrupt two-party system tent, because the GOP always plays reluctant second fiddle to these cultural Marxists here in Colorado. That's what I believe, and that's what I'm standing behind, and that's what I truly think is the right way forward, is the right agenda forward to process this, to make this happen, right? That is our path. And it might be a tough one, and it might be a hard one, and we're probably going to have to go through some growing pains, but if we can preserve our rights, our liberties, and rally behind real leadership that's not corrupted, that's not paid for, that's not a parasitic secondary slave to the cultural Marxist establishment that's been entrenched here, that's what we need to fight for here in Colorado. I truly believe that, folks. Let's take a look in the live chat here. Let's take a look in the live chat. Appreciate y'all hanging out. Thanks for being here, because I was not expecting this to take over about an hour, but here we are. You know, I thought this was going to be a quick, easy chat, but yeah, it always ends up that way, doesn't it? Smash that thumbs up button. Be a part of the Chain Breakers here on Break the Chains Media. Let's take a look here. Yes. So Forrest Mommy says, I'm definitely a conservative unaffiliated. Slick Chick says, the Republican Party is dead. I agree with that. Cheers to both of those. You guys get treasure chests. Stank Fail. I do agree that there has to be a fundamental shift in the GOP, but there is danger in allowing more power to slip into socialist Democrats as well. That is the Occam's razor, right? That is the double-edged sword of this poker move, right? It's definitely this is a poker play here, right? We're trying to call their bluff. In my opinion, we're trying to call their play. We're trying to say, you know what? I see what's happening, and I'm gonna double down. You want this? Go get it. You're gonna get what you're asking for, because at the end of the day, it's really what unaffiliated voters want to begin with. Because why should we keep fighting for a party that's been useless for the last 15 years? Forrest Mommy says, if you have good people standing up to the GOP types will support. In my race, the local GOP people voted for me. See, and that's what I'm talking about. Getting the populist energy, whether you're affiliated, like it's easier for an unaffiliated candidate to pull party-affiliated voters to their populist movement, rather than building off of a platform of broken ideology and broken leadership and trying to convince unaffiliates to join the party. Do you see what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. It's nothing easy when we talk politics. Turbo Media says, I agree, and it's very tough. The GOP is giving power to the commies at the Capitol as it is. Right. Yeah. Jarvis is siding with the Dems, getting mad about reading long bills. Useless. Slick Chick says, hey, I'm a poker player. Yeah, dude, I love me some Texas Hold'em. I love me some good Texas Hold'em. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this kind of rant. And obviously, this is, not very many people are covering the fact that the state assembly just voted to close primaries to Republicans. That's going to come up big time when we're talking about Victor Marks and Scott Bottoms, when we're talking about the big state governor race, the big state GOP butts in seats. We want to get butts in seats. How is that going to play out if we're closing off the primaries? So, it is difficult. Slick Chick says, Bolin say the same thing as you. Oh, really? Wait, are you talking about Drew Bolin? Or Bolian? Or did you spell it right or wrong? Or are you talking about Drew Bolin? I do think that we are in a very fertile ground for something new to emerge. And I know some people, and I'm working with some people, and there are some whispers behind closed doors and some movements happening behind the scenes here in Colorado that want to unify the unaffiliates because that is the majority, folks. The unaffiliates is the majority. Jim Bolians. I do not know who Jim Bolians is. Bolians. But I'll have to check him out. But if we agree on the same thing, well, maybe we got a lot more things in common too. But I do think that it is time for a change in Colorado, and growing pains are the hardest thing to come through. But if the GOP hasn't proven its worth, if it hasn't given us the proper evidence to hold up against this communist, totalitarian, leftist creep that's been happening for the better part of 20 years, whether they were part of it or not, whether they were paid for or not, whether they were working with and operating under the reluctant second place people to this communist cultural Marxist takeover in Colorado, which I believe they were part and parcel to this institutionalized takeover from within over the last 20 years. I do believe that the GOP here in the state played a significant role in giving up their authority and giving up their positions because they made deals, because they shook hands. And I do believe that it's time to send the old dog to pasture. Old Yeller, I see you out there. I'm putting 2 in the barrel and bringing it back, because I do think the GOP has had its run in Colorado, and I think the unaffiliated voters, and I think conservative unaffiliates and conservative-minded, freedom-loving, constitutional conservatives here in the state of Colorado can form around a like-minded, unified message that does not have to resonate with the state GOP as it stands. They don't have leadership. They're over $300,000 in debt, and I'm sick of hearing this infighting. I'm sick of hearing lawsuits. I'm sick of seeing state chair after state chair, revolving door of BS. I'm tired of it. So with that being said, folks, that's my 2 cents on it. And if you liked it, smash that thumbs up button. Be a part of the chain gang. If you want to support the channel, go over to Realm Walker Hot Sauce on Instagram. Pick up a bottle of Realm Walker Hot Sauce. I got about 30 or 40 bottles left, so feel free to check that out if you want to participate and support this kind of work that I do. We're definitely gonna be keeping things maybe a little bit more as far as live streams go. We're probably gonna be doing more off the hip live streams, maybe not as regular, because I feel like moving into the primaries and into this up and coming heated midterms, we want to make sure that our live streams are effective, are full, and we actually have the right conversations being discussed. Because just having an empty conversation, having filling dead air is not necessarily the best thing to do, because you want to make sure that what we're talking about is actually something that matters. And I do believe that that we have some things that matter, you know. So when it comes down to it, let's make it happen. I'm just trying to find a stream that I'm gonna be rating, and this is, I guess, the stream that we're gonna be rating, because this is what it is. And actually, oh my gosh, this actually will go to. Maybe they're not talking about the same thing, but tomorrow we will get into Candace Owens just dropped a huge Victor Marks bomb today, just earlier, before we did my live stream. Candace Owens was going off on Victor Marks and the whole conspiracy regarding Victor Marks, TPUSA, Erica Kirk, his gun running, and his abuse, and his connection with Charlie Kirk and his operation in Haiti. So I probably will be doing something, a little bit more of a review on Candace Owens and her position, but that's going to be something for tomorrow if you are interested. So, like I said, smash that thumbs up button, smash that like button, be a chain breaker, hang out with me. Anytime you see me, come pop in and say hello. But we are going over to Timcast IRL, the Beanie Compound. Appreciate y'all being here on YouTube, on Rumble, on X. But if you are on Rumble, we are heading over to the Beanie Compound right now. So, without further ado, fight for freedom and never give up. We will see you soon.